It worked out though, and it's two very different styles that are going to be colliding here.
Yeah, absolutely. One feels like it's more of that, like you said, the coordinated, the team fight, the focus on team play, whereas the other is just all about the individual plays and seeing who can be the one that gets that hard carry. We do see a Vox getting taken off the table right off the bat by Team Outplayed, not wanting to let D'Enzio get his hands on that hero.
Yeah, I can't say I'm too surprised. D'Enzio last weekend certainly was causing a bit of a fuss on that Vox, so unsurprising to see it taken off the board. My question is, how much do they focus on Rock Bomber for the side of ShadedTalent? The Anchor ban says they're pretty focused.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Anchor ban is also, not only is it a ban against Rock Bomber, but again, we talked about the fact that Outplayed knows how to play Anka and could potentially pull it out for himself as well. So it's just, I think, a smart ban to make in this scenario against this team. But we could end up with this Varia open, and
you can see Rock Bomber hovering it immediately.
I feel like if it gets let through the bans, it might be first picked here by Team Outplayed.
I just overheard Outplayed saying, "Don't tempt me, Cos," and you can see Cos hovering the saw. I don't think that we'll see it here today. I desperately hope we do. I don't think it's going to happen. Outplayed with an opportunity to get into the finals. Troll picks, probably not the right way.
Already hearing a GG being shouted out as they grab the Churnwalker as the first pick. We'll see, again, which carries do end up coming out. Lorelei still on the table. Very likely to be picked up on this first rotation by ShadedTalent because she is just so strong in being able to keep herself or another carry alive, depending on what role she goes into.
Yeah, absolutely. Lorelei, honestly, has been incredibly influential across the course of this tournament. Multiple times we've seen people just surviving by the skin of their teeth. Flicker, going to be locked on in here as well. We could see a Celeste follow that up. They are going to keep hovering around. I'm curious to see which role they lock in here, because a mid laner seems very early to lock that in.
Yeah, it would also, we saw an RB covered. It is going to be that mid lane though. The Celeste getting grabbed, and this kind of frees up now Team Outplayed because they can save this final pick, or they're just going to go ahead and grab the Varia. Say, you know what? Fine, we'll grab our mid laner as well. And now with the Varia, this is the famed Rock Bomber Varia. Yeah. This is what everyone's been talking about. We'll see if it comes to fruition.
And I love that they go for the Varia there immediately, because they're like, okay, we know the lane matchup. We know you're not taking Celeste into a side lane. Varia versus Celeste is fine. You'd both just get to farm in the early stages of the lane. Varia wants that, Celeste wants that. You just agree to get to the later levels of the game. But that has played out perfectly for Rock Bomber individually. We'll see how the rest of the draft goes. But most importantly, you haven't given anything away with that Varia pick, because everyone knew that Varia pick was coming.
Yeah.
It's not like that was a mystery. Rock Bomber plays Varia. It's like, that is just how it is. So they've given away no strategy. They still have those 2 picks left to decide what kind of style of composition they want to go for, because Varia can play defensive. She can also play aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, the only surprise to me through this draft thus far is the fact that Lorelei hasn't been picked yet, because like so many teams are prioritizing her as like their first pick or on their first rotation, but neither of these teams going for her just yet. And with the other picks that haven't made, it's going to be tough to fit Lorelei into the the draft that ShadedTalent has put together. It's going to be tough to fit her into the composition that Outplayed now has, because they both have a mid laner and a traditional captain. You could potentially move
Churnwalker in the jungle
into the jungle and then put the Lorelei into the captain role, but it would take that, you have to do that kind of shuffling, and we'll see if either of these teams are willing to do so.
Yeah, I'm curious. We'll see how they're going to change things up as we move on through the draft. You see Outplayed getting ready for his game there. Shaded very much on the serious side of things, though. He's ready to see what is going to come on through. Varia, it's going to be obviously the first few picks of the draft going to be locked in once again. Finn is the hover right now. I think I prefer the Finn to the Lorelei right there, just because you have that brick wall that Celeste can sit behind and just continue to nuke out that damage.
Yeah, and also you can set up a lot of, the force the cord into a quibble, into a core collapse, and just lock down a team for days on end if you can get that combo going right. And so Silvernail going to be grabbed as well. I'm hearing a call for Yates, and it looks like that is going to be one of the hovers. They're switching through I don't like the Catherine pick. I know a lot of players that I've talked to as well kind of feel like the Catherine isn't that strong right now, but they're gonna go ahead and lock it in. This feels very much like a Catherine, your job is to go in and stun Celeste or stun Silvernail. Like one of those two, your job the entire game is just to stun one of those two and keep them locked down. But we've seen Celeste and we've seen Catherine, and we've seen it struggle pretty heavily.
We have, but also there's a lot of burst damage on the side of Shaded, so Celeste can do incredibly well. A Glaive going to be locked in as well. Outplayed with a pretty.
We talked about the individual, like the individual players on Team Outplayed. This does not feel like a particularly strong team fighting composition that they've put together. It is all about the individuals. I mean, this is, I guess, play to your strengths. If you're on Team Outplayed, that's going to be what they're trying to do.
Look at the enemy team though. You got things like the Finn and the Celeste, not the greatest at roaming around the map. Maybe this is just a matter of Outplayed just looking to outmaneuver ShadedTalent on the map. However, you're against a Finn, you're against a Celeste, you're against a Silvernail. So if you do get to those team fight situations, ShadedTalent has a massive advantage.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of protection on the side of Team Outplayed for their carries. You know, it's going to be relying a lot on Varia being able to dash and use her own movement to get out of situations. You know, maybe a defensive afterburn, but you never want to be using afterburn defensively if you're a Glaive. Catherine can provide a team-wide silence, but if that gets blocked, what do you have left? You know, the Turnwalker stun, and then you have two Crucibles on the enemy team. If both those ultimates get blocked, you've got nothing.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I'm excited to see this Glaive, man. Like, we saw Glaive in MGL this morning over in Europe. We've seen it a tiny little bit. It's like this one shining fringe pick that we sometimes see people make, but you can make such huge plays on Glaive. Even from level 1, if you start with the afterburn, just to cheese someone, instantly, that one ability gives you so much crowd control. It gives you so much ability to make those plays. It's on a guy named Outplayed. He's got the mechanics. He's the best blitz player in the world. I'm excited to see what he can do.
Yeah, this is going to be really interesting to watch because, again, it feels like Team Outplayed is going to be looking to avoid team fights at almost all costs, unless they have a massive lead where they can just kill targets before they can get the damage onto their backlines. Team fights are going to be a struggle for them, but if they can just, like you said, roam around the map, just catch people out of position, catch people rotating themselves, there's a chance.
There certainly is a chance. Outplayed right now, looking for his spot in the finals if he can win this single game against Shaded. I'm going to give it over to Dowsy and his Scoundrel to call the action.
All right, here we go. Team Outplayed versus Team ShadedTalent here. Like said on the desk, if Outplayed takes the victory, clutches it, we're straight to finals at Scoundrel. We'll have to see if Outplayed can take himself there.
Yeah, I think we do have a pretty tough ask, though, because DNZO's team, or rather you're in ShadedTalent's team, sorry, DNZO was last week. ShadedTalent's team are very, very, very strong. They've got a great players with Mixi, who's been a standout player throughout most of the series. And really, it was Rock Bomber on the anchor that gave a massive, massive advantage over to the side of Outplayed's team. So, if they can replicate that, and if Rock Bomber can step up again and be that carry that his team needs to be, maybe we can find our way there. But let's not count out ShadedTalent's team because they have got DNZO on Celeste, they've got Mixi on the Silvernail. It's a lot of damage, a lot of frontline protection as well. They've got individual protection with the Grace, big frontline protection with the Finn, and obviously then you have zonal control and engage with PvP Warrior on the Flicker.
I mean, if you talk about signature picks, everyone knows that Rock Bomber is the Varia one trick in North America. So we'll have to see if you can showcase just that against DNZO Celeste. Such a strong pick. Lost point tough on Catherine. I've never seen a better pairing. And then you got Pico up on the Weapon Power Reza. Pretty much made it a pick in North America, Pico, on that Weapon Power Reza. So we'll have to see his work here. Outplayed's team are playing to their strength here as far as hero picks are concerned. We'll have to see if they can make the composition work, of course. Obviously, as you said, ShadedTalent, just so much star power and veteran power really as well in the scene.
Absolutely, completely agree. DNZO now. Rock Bomber is obviously, like you said, one of his best heroes. So if he can make that work for him in this particular game, he's going to be taking on one of the all-time greats, though DNZO actually the current Vainglory reigning world champion, I believe. So, still got a lot of star power, like you said, to try and get through. He is going to see Outplayed working with the Glaive, something that we don't see too often. Glaive has a specific place, but maybe versus this team, he can find those picks. isolate Mixi, isolate Dienzio if they don't have their own reflex blocks. That could work out for him.
We'll have to see. Very interesting. Yes, last week we did see a Glaive actually coming out of Pico, and it was the one time that Pico didn't really look as comfortable up in the top lane. Obviously, Glaive has had his ups and downs throughout meta over a long time. 5v5, when it first came out, Alex Scoundrel, he was pretty much the king of the jungle. Right now, not so much so, but we'll maybe Outplayed knows something we don't.
Yeah, I think Glaive's in a decent spot. He is still very good at isolating specific targets. His afterburn is always going to continuously be useful throughout any game of Vainglory, but in sort of more competitive and sort of coordinated, I guess, 5v5 play, Glaive is a little bit easier to read. You don't position yourself and make yourself a sitting target for him. So it's going to be a little bit harder for Outplay to find these picks than it would be compared to playing Glaive in solo queue, for instance.
Well, we'll have to find out. It's going to be all about the farm early, you feel, especially in this mid lane. Varia versus Celeste, not really too much kill pressure in that lane, which is good, I think, for Lost Boy Toff on this Catherine, who's going to want to try and stack up his merciless pursuit here. We'll have to see if he can land some. Obviously, ShadedTalent on the Finn won't get stunned, but it's a pretty slow-moving target, and will allow Lost Boy Toff to, get that off cooldown.
Yeah, I mean, if you as a Catherine are comfortable enough to just run in with your Merciless Pursuit and stack up your passive over and over again, that's a great position to be in. The worst place for a Catherine is if you use your stun and you feel like you're putting yourself at risk by doing so. In this particular lane, though, when you have that power from Vario, it's not the worst matchup in the world for a Vario. Like, you put Vario against a Scarf, you're going to get boned. You put Vario against a Celeste, it's a little bit easier to deal with. And so that allows Catherine to be that bit more aggressive and, like you said, stack that passive up, which is really important for giving her that sort of longevity in the team fight situations as well.
I mean, Lost Boy Top is just doing it, even with no one in the lane as well. Does actually get punished a little bit hard this time. How much punishment will he take? Oh, the flask, the boots, everything popped to get him out of that one alive. Like you mentioned, that's the issue that can come if you do get punished for using your Merciless Pursuit for stacking up, and Lost Boy Toff just a little bit more than he could chew.
Yeah, I like the fact that he is maxing his Merciless Pursuit there, because that's going to bring it off cooldown more quickly. It gives them more isolating pressure versus things like Mixi and Dienzio. When you combo that, you can try and force the Crucible or the Reflex block and then find Glaive to go in and get those afterburns. So there is a lot of synergy potential from the side of Outplayed squad, and then you still have the Churnwalker as well, which, we often talk about Churnwalker being one of the strongest heroes in 5v5 and 3v3 right now. So you combo that with everything else, it's actually a pretty tough composition. The only problem that I do have is that I think for the consistent damage output in team fights, you're really only relying on Rock Bomber. Everything else is more sort of dive pressure, and so you really need to be relying on Pico and Outplay to be dealing that significant damage over to Dienzio.
Koz has a lot of hooks stacked up here. They're moving on in with the Varia ult to contest this Crystal Tree, and is going to get secured by Rock Bomber here on the Varia. Definitely a good trade coming through for Team Outplayed here. Now everyone returns back to their lanes.
I'm seeing Pico go for the weapon power build, which I don't think is the worst thing in the world, but I actually genuinely think CP in this situation might be more threatening, because you actually have more burst damage as CP. So if you're looking for burst onto the squishy backline targets like Mixi and Dienzio, maybe CP would have been a little bit of an afterthought. But as it stands, you still are in a situation where you've got to... Oh, wait a second, Pico picks up the kill.
Just gets first blood in a 1v1, 1v2 lane, Scoundrel. Pico doesn't care about your Reser opinions.
I know, Pico doesn't care about my Reser opinions. My Reser opinions are probably bad. But regardless, still a 1,000 gold lead over to ShadedTalent's team. And again, really coming through, I think, the farm difference in the bot lane as it stands, I think.
Currently, Outplayed, not doing as hot. Is that what you're talking about?
Actually, no, he's actually pretty level with Mixi. Just so I'm trying to work out where the gold discrepancy is coming from. Then is it the jungle?
Not entirely sure. Very interesting to see.
gonna just pass on that point.
Just exists, this Scoundrel. We just accept
exists.
it. It's fine.
I think we just have to talk like Schrodinger's gold difference.
Top 10 unsolved mysteries.
Yeah, this is going to go on a YouTube
Right
video later. Top 10 unsolved Vainglory mysteries. The gold difference between Outplayed and ShadedTalent's team in potentially the final group stage game or the round robin game of the VPL All Stars.
Yeah, no one expected this to come. I mean, last week we had a mammoth of a round robin. In the end, it ended up
JK
with
has disappeared. It's disappeared. The gold league's disappeared, mate. I don't know what to say. Just, yeah. Done.
Done. See ya. It just, people have to catch up, Scoundrel. That's all. Sometimes you just have to catch up. Sometimes a jungle hasn't been cleared yet. Who knows? Anyway, another Crystal Treant to be contested. It is going to be Outplayed walking into a core collapse into a Solar Storm. That's going to be a lot of damage breaking out. The barrier also is hitting everyone. That's going to be Outplayed picking up a fight. On the other side of the map, Pico picks up a kill onto Mixi as well. It's a 2 for 9 across the map. Can they get more is the question. Rock Bomber's Varia ults have been very impactful.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you stack up that Dragon's Eye and then find a situation in a team fight where you can actually get the Varia ult off, they hit so hard, especially since the slight Varia buff to the successive hits of her ultimate. There are two, I think, schools of thought to using a Varia ult. You either use it at the start of the fight to create pressure when you go in, or you utilize that Dragon's Eye and cast it in a safe situation during the fight to get maximum damage impact. It really depends on the situation, but I like the fact that Rock Bomber used it at that point once he'd already got a couple of Dragon's Eye stacks behind him, because they did end up hitting hard. And as to your point, Pico versus Mixi, you can't leave a Silvernail 1v1 versus a Reza, just especially with the attention bit already finished.
Yeah, Pico's Reza is very threatening. Always has been since the hero's release. Or often cited as the #1 Reza in the world, in fact. And, I mean, he shows it week in and week out here on the VPL stage, what his potential is. Right now, Rock Bomber's just 1v2ing Dienzio, former world champion mid laner here of the 3v3 Vainglory world. Cos comes in to pull Dienzio back into the fight. The boots will be popped to get Dienzio under the turret.
Dienzio has burned his flask, by the way, so if Cos looked for an ultimate and it doesn't get blocked because there is no reflex block and no crucible, Dienzio is very at risk of going down here. Outplay could even look for that afterburn, but the rest of the team is rotating down, so they have to be careful. Shaded also has that pull up and available to start the fight if they want to. It's a risky situation.
So much respect has been shown so far from Team Outplayed to the Mooncloaks. Every time a Mooncloak has been popped, Team Outplayed have kind of positioned very respectfully around the potential engage that can come out of a slightly speedier, unknown position of a Finn. So I'm really liking that. You know, Team Outplayed, they kind of talked about how they're just they're thrown together a good roster of scary talent, but they've got the shot calls going for them as well, and so far looking good.
Yeah, they might even be able to get this mid lane turret, by the way, with no one there to defend it, with Dienzio having to back off that previous engage of Rock Bomber. That is now going to open up the map. That mid lane turret going down means that CP buff is more easily invadable. Rotations can happen from top to bot lane much more easily, and it also means you can set up around that Ghostwing.
Pico is just taking down Mixi again! Doesn't quite get over the wall, though. With the Neverform Detonator, that's a lot of damage bursted, and ShadedTalent's coming in to try and pressure. Dienzio is going to be here as well. I think Pico goes down, and Mixi will very happily take that kill. Really unfortunate that he didn't get over the wall with the ultimate. Nice, capitalization from Mixi just to ult him into the wall and make sure he dies for that.
Even more unfortunate, there was nothing to take on the other side of the map for the side of Outplayed, because they weren't able to get the Ghostwing, for instance. That wasn't up. Wasn't really too much of taking the bot side of the map either. So that pressure created by Pico and forcing the rest of ShadedTalent team to rotate up didn't really result in a net gain for the side of our Outplayed squad. But they do use that minion cannon in the mid lane, try and put some pressure on their side of the jungle, and have managed to get some vision control around this Ghostwing area where they might be able to set up for a pick.
Going to be the Ghostwing spawning as we speak, Scoundrel.
Oh, Mixi's dead.
Everyone, Mixi, I think he is. It's going to be Pico diving on him. Pops the boots, actually a really good time. Just about walks away. Nice stuff from Mixi, keeps himself alive. Now there's no pressure though on the map, and that's going to allow for the side of Team Outplay to move on to the Ghostwing and take that one down. ShadedTalent's going to pop that flare, watch it get taken. Captured is the Ghostwing. We'll have to see how Team Outplay decides to utilize it.
Split push 101 right now for Outplayed's team. You create pressure on one side of the map. The enemy team feels like they have to rotate to deal with it. You take something else on the other side of the map. It's a very simple formula that has worked out very well for Outplayed's team across a lot of their games. And with this pushing power of the Varia in the mid lane, just able to constantly shove mid lane waves, keeps Dienzio pinned back a bit. They can even set up for vision around this Blackclaw now as well.
I mean, when Pico is able to 1v2 his top lane here, and split push against a Silvernail and a Flicker, when you consider then that Outplayed has the help of Lost Boy Toff or Cos to just move into the bot lane and do the exact same thing, very difficult for Team Shaded Talent to gain any footing in this game and start to set up their proactive plays. Rock Bomber with the range now on that A, just doing so much damage from afar.
And Cos also gets the gold tree at the back there. That would have been a risky place for them to be had they had any idea that both Lost Boy Toff and Outplayed were in their bottom side of the jungle. But man, this is dominant actually now coming out from Outplayed's team. They are 4,000 gold in the lead. And remember, if they win this, Dalsy, they end up going straight to the final versus Iraqi Zoro.
Certainly do. It is going to be Outplayed taking a shot at Neon Fire here. Mooncloak is popped and they're trying to position on to Rock Bomber on the back line. Can they get onto the barrier is the question. Cos is setting up those Churnwalker chains. Throws them out, doesn't quite get it. Rock Bomber dives straight on into the middle of the fight. Dodges out the Solar Storm. Fountain's already been used. Look at the damage starting to stack up here on the back line as Varia does his work. They find the first kill. It's onto Lost Boy Toff, not a main target. Second kill does come through, but it's looking like it should be a fight. Setting it up for Rock Bomber here. Can he get the damage down is the question. That's the first kill. Double kill.
Look at Rock Bomber go!
Enzio gets stunned on up. They stun up Rock Bomber as well. Can he get the finish though? That's the question. Doesn't look like he can. Oh, Rock Bomber was pretty much untouched the entire fight, but unfortunately isn't able to finish on finalize it. In the end, it ends up being a 4-for-1 in favor of Team Shaded Talent.
Rock Bomber just doing a lot of work that fight, built up so many Dragon's Eye stacks and just tore through. But it was actually a net win for Shaded Talent's team. They did end up coming out with more members on the map. And that was a little bit because Outplayed was caught down on the bottom side. They didn't really have the ability to isolate Mixi, and unfortunately just a lot of choke point damage going onto Lost Boy Toff and onto Cos. They were in that area around the gold treant, which meant that it was very easy for DNC to get very impactful supernovas, and unfortunately just they're not the best place to fight up against the Celeste team. But regardless, you feel like pressure advantage still lies with Outplayed's team. Rock Bomber also coming away with a healthy amount of gold, working towards his third item, which is potentially going to be, well, could be multiple things. Could be Shatterglass for the strict burst damage, could be Frostburn, which I doubt, could also be the Spellfire, which is also not the best item for the Varia. So I'm imagine that it's likely going to be just the Shatterglass for that strict burst damage.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, Frostburn did get a slight buff. We'll have to see if it's something that Rock Bomber values, but I would imagine Shatterglass here could just do a lot of work, especially with that ultimate. If you don't have the Dragon Eye stacks immediately, at least you're getting some immediate impact from it. And then it allows you to just...
It could be Frostburn, maybe. I mean, that does make your ultimate a little bit harder to dodge. So if you hit the first one, especially in big team fight situations, and they stack up, that could be feasible.
A lot of options, I guess, is what we need to know, and very interested to see what Rock Bomber does in fact go for. Ghostwing started on up. Enzio and the team move on in to try and contest it. Rock Bomber positions back. Gonna be left, just sitting very low. Gonna be the ultimate coming out from Lost Boy Toff, and the engage is coming through. The Varia roll is stacking onto multiple members. Enzio channeled his Solar Storm through it. Gets the heal from the Grace. The pull comes through. Lost Boy Toff on the wrong side of the team fight. Where is Pico? Mixi's already here doing the work. We need the Reza to come on in, make it an even 5v5. Mooncloak for disengage, potentially a re-engage if they want to. Rock Bomber still has stacks. No, he doesn't. They've all gone away. I lied to your faces. Looks like the fight may just fizzle out.
Yeah, but the amount of damage dealt over the course of that team. But wait a second, Pico.
Pico's just like, watch this. Mom, get the camera. Wait, never mind. Gonna get out of here. Ghostwing, though, gets secured. As far as Pico was concerned, he was playing Distraction, and Distraction was well done.
Yeah, the AMAX as well from Rock Bomber is doing some serious work in these fights. I don't know if you noticed that a lot of Varias have that decision to make between maxing B and maxing A. Looks like Rock Bomber went for the max A simply because the extended range and the massive damage that you can do chains so nicely between this backline. Mixi and Enzio taking huge damage from Rock Bomber in these situations, and he's now working very closely towards getting his third item. We'll find out what that will be soon. He had to invest in things like an infusion for that last fight. But the primary objective from that fight did go the way of Outplayed's team. They do end up getting what they started, which was that Ghostwing. It is going to be the Spellfire, by the way. So the Spellfire coming out for Rock Bomber.
Okay. Looking to try and cut down potentially on the healing that comes through from Grace Ultimate onto Enzio. Also, massive amount of fortified health that can come out from Shaded Talent cut down as well.
I think
Are
the
there mortal wounds?
Spellfire Mortal Wounds will apply from the chain, although I'm not totally sure. I'll need to. I don't know if I can't remember if it's on hit effects that it does apply with. I need to double check. I haven't seen this iteration or this combination between Varia and Spellfire much. But if it does apply Mortal Wounds to everybody, that's gonna be
Oh my
big. Wait a
God.
second.
Really big engage coming out of Koz, and Dianzu's the target, looking to dive on in with that Spellfire. Look at it stacking onto everyone with a Varia ult. Crazy stuff. I just wanted to touch on Pico and Koz just held off 5 members all by themselves while the rest of the team get the Blackclaw. Crazy amount of pressure coming out of Team Outplayed, and that turret is just uncontested. Goes down in seconds, moving towards this armory.
Yeah, they have to be a little bit careful with their positioning here because you can see Pico on the top side of the map. If they get baited into an engage, into a 4 versus 5, not the ideal scenario, but Pico has been doing a mighty fine job of split pushing this entire game. He's constantly been drawing Mixi to the top side of the map, and Mixi is an integral part of this team fight for the side of ShadedTalent. Without Mixi there, because Pico is drawing him away to a side lane, you're losing a lot of your team fight damage, relying solely on Dienzio, who really hasn't been given the best platform and hasn't really been having the most impact in these team fights as well. He's really only on 2 items also. If you compare that to what Rock Bomber's running with, the damage output is a world of difference right now.
Going to be a broken myth coming shortly for Rock Bomber as well. Koz has them all hooked up. It's a scary time to be Dienzio. That ultimate, the Trespass, was only seconds away from being able to be used again, and you have to feel that the internal clocks were screaming, this is dangerous on the side of Team ShadedTalent. It's a 6-6 as far as the kills is concerned, Scoundrel, but it's a huge gold lead in favor of Team Outplayed, and they've had the pressure in this team ever since minute 1, it felt. It only keeps going their way.
Massive turret advantages. They've got 4 over their opposition. They've taken almost every global objective in their favor just because of that pressure they've created with Pico on the side of the map. And they also have the Ghostwing now spawning again. Dodged out. I think they also used the Crucible there. No, they didn't even use the Crucible. Man, that's swag. Didn't even care.
Lost Boy Toff just didn't care about your forced accord there. Oh my goodness, Pico's on the back line with the Varia ult as well, ticking on down. They're going to pull Flicker back into the fight, but he's not really the main target. They're looking for Mixi, they're looking for Dienzio. Unfortunately, they weren't able to get either of them there. Ghostwing has respawned. Looks like the entirety of Team Outplayed are making their way down towards the White Dragon. We'll have to see if they do start up immediately or if they look to just bait a fight first.
Yeah, I mean, they do still have to be careful. They do have to respect that damage coming out from Dienzio. Still has got 3 items now finished, although not a huge amount of piercing, so there's still going to be that good front line. Wait a second, though, ShadedTalent has to be careful.
I mean, this is just free stacks if you can get onto him for a barrier. Fortunately, won't be able to. 10 seconds as well on that Anvil's Hammer. Is it Anvil's Hammer? That doesn't sound right.
I think it is.
Okay.
Something along those lines.
Yeah,
I
the
can never
Varia
remember
ultimate.
either.
We'll be back
The
up in just
Varia
a second.
ultimate.
There we go. Easy peasy. Dienzio takes huge burst damage. Is Dienzio dead? Pico says he's dead. Outplayed says he's dead. The Grey Soul keeps him alive, but he goes down indefinitely. Outplayed on the back line, trying to get some damage down before he goes down. In fact, the Fountain's keeping him alive. Neon Fire's in the wrong place, wrong time, and ShadedTalent's getting chased down by a Varia. 4 kills, just the Finn to be taken out, and Rock Bunner gonna make that easy. Ace comes through, no members even dead on the side of Team Outplayed, and they've got a wave in the top lane.
They should at least get an armory off this. Might be able to finish the game. It doesn't look like they're committing to that because you can see Outplayed going down towards the bottom side of the map. They remember, they win. They go straight to the finals versus Iraqi Zoro. We say goodbye to ShadedTalent. We say goodbye to Hammy. They're going to be pushing on.
They are. They're just pushing on in. They're going on to the Vein Crystal. Outplay's going to make his way in. Dienzio respawns, as does Mixi. The 2 damage dealers, can they do the work is the question. Vein Crystal, half health, doesn't seem likely. They're just focusing down the Vein Crystal, and the Vein Crystal is melting as we speak. Outplay do it. 2 points on the board. They're going to the finals.
Congratulations, Outplay. Should be facing Iraqi Zoro, and Rock Bomber is definitely a threat to deal with. It feels like it's like a Lulu ZU versus Rock Bomber final setup that we've got here. 2 big carries for their team, but Dowsey, man, that was insane.
Very, very well calculated from Team Outplayed. A lot to talk about on the desk as we set up for our finals.